All right, so good. So welcome, Ed and Stephanie, and I think some others will be joining. I apologize about the password. That didn't seem to be an issue last time. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and change the meeting so that it'll um, just simply have me have to admit people. I don't know why it's forcing that password, but it is. So this is week number 3 of the Life IQ series, and thank you all for joining. Looks like we have 5 folks now, and I think Crystal's joining. Yep, excellent. So apologies again for that password, not having that sent out, but we'll make sure that's there. All right. So.
That's what it was. I couldn't get in.
Hey, yeah, sorry, Crystal. Who's
Okay.
logged in as user? As a user, the letter U. Like to change your name just so we know who that is. All right. Well, we'll just keep rolling along. So welcome, to the week 3 of the Life IQ Living, and again, apology for the snafu about the password. That's all Zoom trying to really be strict with the security. I think you all are probably aware of that. So sometimes it's really great, and then there's times like this where it's a challenge. But hopefully you all can see my screen. Are you all seeing that okay? Anybody? You're all on mute?
Yeah, I can see it.
Thank you.
Yep, I can see it.
Excellent, thank you. So last week we did just a quick review. We started out with the healthy mind. And so with that, what we were doing is just talking about the thoughts that we think and what's going on in our head. So use that button there to click G. And so hopefully that was a help for you. And what I'm going to do is I was going to ask as when we go to do our check-in, so I'm going to unpack this week's topic, but when we go to do the check-in to ask you, did you actually have a problem or situation that you were able to use a new question to unlock a breakthrough, or maybe you identified that. So our thoughts, as we talked about last week, are very crucial to how we go about living life, and also certainly the success and the things that we end up endeavoring. So let's talk about this week, and we're going to talk about the healthy body. And in this particular one, so by healthy body, what we're talking about, just simple definition, would be, what we put into our body, the food, drinks, supplements, physical exercise or activity that we partake of. So that's a sort of a loose definition. But the key, there's a lot obviously written around this topic. I know some of you actually are into health coaching. The amount of information, amount of things that you can learn about this topic are pretty big. But the key that I have found is just figuring out what works for you, and then just being consistent with it. So you got to figure out, okay, so out of all that plethora of information, what works for me as far as the food, supplements, physical exercise and activity, and making sure that it's going to help support what's going to help you to show up physically fit. I think one of the biggest things that we deal with is when we don't feel well, how much of a impact that has on the rest of us. So just like our mental state, so our physical health is extremely important. And so being a learner and trying things out, not getting discouraged, and just figuring out what's going to end up working for you, so that you can then do that consistently. I have found I've had to, over the years, tweak things and try different things to make sure that it stays interesting and also working for me. Because, well, it may have worked for you at one time in your life, may no longer work for you in this stage of life. I want to, definitely put the little thing out there. Again, as always mentioned, be sure to consult a medical doctor before making any changes to your diet or exercise regimen. This meeting is not meant to provide medical advice, so be sure to do your own research and find out what works best for you. All right. But, whatever you end up doing, it's going to be important that you do something to address self-care. So while mindset concerns what you think about, the physical self-care will actually address how you end up, it'll help with how you end up thinking, because as you take care of your body physically, it'll impact your mind, it'll impact your mental state and how you show up. So there's a great little formula that's mentioned here, P equals P minus I. So this is something that Tim Galway, he's the guy who wrote The Inner Game of Tennis, shares in another book that he wrote called The Inner Game of Work. And what this stands for is your performance. So in this case, we'll say our physical performance equals the potential that we have minus interference. So our performance, physically, how we show up, how we're engaged in our life, whatever we're doing. So how well we perform. And you can think about any role that you have. So as a parent, as a student, as a coach, whatever your job is, however your performance is there equals the potential that you have. And potential goes to your training, your education, your experience, anything that would be in the plus side of the equation for you. So if you're thinking of a balance sheet, all of the potential is the additions that you're adding in there. So everything, your gifts, your skills, all that would fit into that column. The interference is the debit side, so that's pulling down your potential. And by interference, we would talk to things like your mindset, as we talked about. It could be your lack of training, education. It could be your habits that you have in your life. Could be that you're just out of balance and you don't have the time to spend on some of these things that you should. But in this case, we're going to talk specifically about your physical health as the interference issue. And so as you think about interference, then you want to think, okay, with my physical health, where am I experiencing interference in my pursuit of physical health? So does, and this is going to be sort of the question of the week. So we're going to encourage you to think about this between now and next week, but does anything jump out at you right away in this particular question? Where are you experiencing interference in your pursuit of physical health? Who would like to share?
I will. For me, it's the COVID virus thing, because I live in an area where the weather's not nice and I can't get outside all the time. And I don't have home gym walking equipment like a treadmill or something. And I just love to walk. And not being able to go to the gym, I'd call that a big interference for me, for my daily routines.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Crystal. So not being able to get out and get to the gym and the all the things that you were used to in your program. Yeah. Who else? What other interference comes up for anyone else? You're on mute if you don't realize you're on mute.
I tried to respond via chat, but I would just like to echo what Crystal said. I love to be outdoors. I love to walk, and the weather just hasn't really been ideal, or, it seems like a silly thing to complain about, but it is something I do really enjoy. And that's where I expel energy, gather energy, and get a lot of movement, which is important for me. So I feel what you're saying, Crystal.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah. So thinking about what you might want in your performance, and I think this is one of the things to recognize, and perhaps as we approach, we talked about mindset last time, but as we approach this, your performance is never going to end up being equal to all the potential you have, right? That would be a pretty high bar and a pretty difficult thing to do, because your potential is always going to be greater than what you're able to deliver at all times. It just would be. But the goal is, sometimes what we do is we focus so much on the idea of building your potential. So let me learn more, let me do more reading. Let me focus on the building side of things, and getting more information, trying a new program, whatever it is. That's all the potential side, without addressing sometimes the interference that's going along with that. Does that make sense? Because it's easy to focus on, oh, let me try this, let me do this, let me tweak that, without then addressing the things that are getting in the way. And the interference could be the time of day that you try to do exercise, the types of ways that you're going about nutrition that maybe aren't necessarily working for you, or motivating, or whatever. And it could be just the fact that you like doing things with people, or that you do like with people by yourself. And so having to figure out what the interference is that's undermining your potential. Anybody else? Comments, thoughts? Love to hear feedback from maybe one more person. We got a few on the line here.
I think.
Go ahead.
I just think the amount of work in a given day is difficult to overcome and incorporate, some kind of physical activity that's, not strenuous, but something to take that time away from work seems to be tough.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a big one, Ed. And I think for busy, it's sort of sort of interesting, because when you're younger, typically you're able to do some of that stuff. But once you start getting into the years where you take on more responsibility, we tend to diminish our self-care, which is really where this lands, right? And it's the interesting thing is, and we all know the answer, so this isn't pop quiz time. But if you were to think about your performance, wouldn't self-care enhance your performance in your job, your career, your marriage, your parenting, whatever? Of course. So we all know that answer, but yet we don't always attend to it the way we should. Yeah. Cindy, what were you going to share? And then we'll move on.
Oh, I think I just want to echo what Ed said. I feel like there's so many things vying for my time, and a lot of it is work related, and that seems to trump the ability to go outside and just exercise, or go, just to invest that time.
Yeah,
has been difficult right now.
Yeah, that's thank you for sharing that. I know in the most busiest times that I've had some humdingers. I've had days where I started like 6:30 in the morning and didn't finish till 8 o'clock at night. And so I understand busy days. One of the things I've had to force myself to do is just set a timer, get up And even if it was for a couple of minutes, may not be a full workout, you're going out and jogging or doing whatever, and just do some kind of movement. I'm not saying it's the best thing to do, but that's definitely something I had to force myself. Go out, walk if you can for 5 minutes, get some hand weights in your office and use those. And then one of the other things that I found really helpful, and you've seen those, is those Very desks. I have sort of my own home built version of that, but I'll set a timer where I sit for 25 minutes and then the timer goes off. That'll give me a chance to stretch and move so I'm not just locked up, and then I'll stand for the next 25 minutes. And so just doing that variation of sitting, standing has really been effective. Anybody try that? Try standing more than sitting?
I've tried that, not for like intermittent periods, but yeah, but definitely stand a portion of the day and sit another portion.
Good. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I've tried that too.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, I set a timer, and it's one of those things, try it and do it for a little while, then you sort of get into different habits and things. All right, so let's talk about life on the river. So maybe we get a few folks to chime in. Let's see where we are time-wise. We got a few minutes left still. Where are you on the river, and how did things go this past week? So who would like to jump in? Try and get a few folks to respond here. Where are you at on the river this week, and how did things go?
I'll share. I think I'm still kind of in the rapids, but I'm doing a lot better. Being intentional has really made a difference. I think someone was mentioning last week about unplugging, and I'm really making a intentional effort to just say, okay, 5 o'clock or whatever time, before dinner, before the evening, I'm unplugging. I'm not going to be looking at my phone and emails and all, and it has really helped me just kind of feel more settled and not just like I was talking to a friend and I said, I feel like my brain is fried. I've been watching all this stuff and, some of it's really good, but the question that I came up with for myself was, it's like, oh, what can I do during this time? And then I thought, no, maybe there's another part to this. What do I need to say no to during this time? And one thing just really quickly was somebody sent out a mass email or a Facebook message, and it was this conspiracy theory about the virus and all this. And I opened it up and I just thought, no, I don't need to, maybe some of this is true, but I have no control over all this stuff. And I don't really need to put all that into my brain and into my mind at this time. I'm going to say no to that. And there's a lot of stuff out there that's just energy drainer. And so just being more aware of that and just saying no to some of these things and even good things like being part of a book launch team. It was like, well, that sounds really great. And it's like, no, I've got more coaching courses coming up. I don't want to squeeze the coaching in. I want to allow plenty of time. So saying no to that. So that feels good.
That's good. Yeah. And so it's not just the addition, but the subtraction. Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. So not sure who Granny is. Somebody named Granny is trying to join. Meg.
Yeah, I not particularly about this last week, but just a couple of weeks ago. Well, I had my Facebook app on my phone, and I don't do a lot on Facebook, but I used to find it interesting to learn a lot of extra things, a lot of them that maybe I didn't need to know. So one day I just made the decision to take Facebook off my phone and just have it on the computer. And so that was so good, because I don't look at it much at all now, and just occasionally look at it. So I'm not usually someone who's usually a junkie about stuff like that, but I had found before that I would wake up in the night, and particularly since the virus, and I'd be looking at stuff. So it was so great when I just removed that literally, and that temptation, and so now I'm not necessarily tracking friends or anything like that. Not that again that I ever did a whole lot of that, but so that was a big help.
Yeah, that's a good point, Megan. I think a good question that we can ask ourselves sometimes is, what is my body saying to me? What am I feeling? And we lose track of that, and I think it can really be helpful. All right, good. Who else? Still got time for one or two more. And it looks like we had somebody named Granny join. So Granny, I don't know if you can identify yourself. Love to know who you are.
Hi, this is Becky.
Hey, Becky.
Hi, I don't know why Granny comes up, but you can tell who set it up for me.
Understood.
I too discovered in the last week that I had Facebook issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say more about that.
Well, I was just finding that my mind just felt so cluttered, and it was all these great ideas that I read about on Facebook. And when I realized I wasn't getting any of my own creative flow, I took another look at that Facebook usage. And sure enough, I was on a way more than I thought, and I'm no longer doing that. And I just feel lighter. It's wonderful.
A Facebook fast. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's a it's interesting, and because any of the things with social media, you can easily, and they're very addictive in the sense of it draws you into the stories and the people and the stuff going on.
Right.
But there's almost, again, you have to set a timer and say, okay, I'm going to get on here for this, or have this intentional purpose. Otherwise, 2 minutes can turn into 20 in a hurry.
That's for sure.
Yeah, one of the reasons I was able to make that decision was I was listening to our pastor on the Sunday morning, and they were talking about, it's spiritual disciplines and everything, and then he just made the very simple point. He said, don't let your phone be the first thing you look at when you wake up and the last thing you look at when you go to bed. And that really convicted me. I couldn't believe that had happened to me. So it was so great to do it. So I can't take credit for having made that wise decision on my own.
Well, that's that's a great point, though. So as we think about, and I apologize again for those who were having trouble getting on. I didn't even realize the crazy thing had a password on it, but now we do. Where are you experiencing interference in your pursuit of physical health? So this, just like the Einstein question, last week, would encourage you to think about this one this week. So who would like to chime in as far as your takeaway and what you want to work on this coming week? And it could be about any area. It doesn't have to just be about physical health, but what's your takeaway / what do you want to work on? So we try to get a couple of folks. Love to see everybody commit to something, because that's the whole purpose of this, right? Life IQ.
Well, I like what you said about just even taking some weights with you when you go for a walk, or just being much more intentional, all things you already shared.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Who else? Anybody want to make commitments? What do you want to do?
I'm going to put exercise on my calendar and carve it out so that other people don't end up scheduling an appointment at that time, because I'm going to have to be intentional or it's not going to happen.
Yeah, if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else is going to do that. And Cindy, just maybe a thought, when you finish the exercise, do something to celebrate / congratulate yourself. So
Yeah, I'm going to do that too. I'm going to set up some very intentional things.
Good.
So I'll have to report on that.
Excellent. Who else?
Well, I'm going to commit. This is Becky, and I'm going to commit to walking and or riding a stationary bike.
Okay.
I've been doing that and then got away from it for a day or two, and now it's been a week and a half probably.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
it is that intentional. You just do it, you know, you just do it.
Yeah, and again, that's why that worksheet, it's like, what did I do today? So, and it can be simple. Again, it doesn't have to always be some major thing. So,
Right.
good. So, Crystal, Deb, Ed, Stephanie, Stephen, anybody else want to chime in?
I'm going to be more consistent with, I've been walking every day, which has been really a blessing. And I'm thankful we've got weather that it rains a lot in the Northwest, but we've had a lot of sun. So it's been good to get out. But I also have belonged to a gym, and they've been so faithful about sending workouts. And I have not, I've done one, you know, over these past few months. So I want to add that in, like maybe a couple days a week, do the workout from the gym in my living room. Or try. So,
wow, that sounds like a great resource too.
It is.
Excellent.
They're great. Yep. Thank you.
I'm going to try and sleep 7 hours.
What, do you have a newborn, Ed?
No, I don't. That's the worst part. The days are just, especially under COVID, the days are evaporating.
Yeah, that's good though. Gets 7 hours sleep. Good for you. All right, time for one more.
This is Steven. Again, like you said, I think my own aspect is being able to walk for hours of great time for family, because I get to walk at home because of the COVID. And so I found myself walking way into the night, and then it kind of like take away a family time. But the other one is to take social media fast, to be able to just and just give what's needed.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Yeah, it's interesting because the issues are universal, aren't they? Working late into the night, doesn't matter what country or where you're at, taking away family time and self-care. All right, well, everyone, thank you so much for the joining and for connecting. Thanks for letting me know there was a password issue. I had my daughter here helping me to try to figure it out, so she was Johnny on the spot. And we definitely will send out the recording for if you missed any. And we'll look forward to connecting this time next week. So take care and have a great rest of your week.
Great. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Michael.
Thank you. Good to see you all.